She's a
head there in an acknowledgement there, great left hook.
The Combat Cast, episode number 11, featuring Rob Cox. And we are live. Hello and welcome to the Combat Cast, episode number 11. Today I am joined with one of the top sports journalists for Muay Thai and combat sports in general, Mr. Rob Cox. So I'd like to welcome Rob to the episode.
Good morning, everyone.
Awesome. Pleasure to have you on the show, Rob.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to work with you, Steve. You know, I've known you a long time, so and what you're doing is very nice as well. It's a great idea to help put something back to the combat sports or the Muay Thai scene. So
that's right.
It's great.
Yeah, thank you, man. So the first thing that I'd like to ask is just how did your journey in martial arts and in Muay Thai begin?
It began a long time ago. I first started out, I was kind of playing around with a few little martial arts, and I got into Wing Chun, believe it or not, back in England, and I was kind of playing around with that a little bit, and it was kind of a bit of a strange scene at the time. But that got me kind of buying magazines, and it was around the time of that Bloodsport came out, so I kind of gone to, it wasn't a very prominent movie. It wasn't in every theatre, but it was kind of like, if you kind of was involved in martial arts, you kind of knew about it, because No Retreat, No Surrender, you know, Jean-Claude Van Damme, and it was kind of, it was on in Chinatown in London, so I went along and watched that and kind of saw that, and it's interesting. And I was starting to buy some martial arts magazines. There was a magazine in England at the time, I don't know if it's still going or not now, I mean magazines are struggling now, but called Fighters, and just kind of opened that and I saw Thai boxing, and it was around the time of like Rob Carmen, and there was a really good French scene, Dutch scene, a huge Dutch scene back then. And in England, you had the likes of Ronnie Green training out of Master Toddy's, and some good. And I was kind of like, just, well, that looks interesting. And I'd kind of got a bit bored of the Wing Chun, the gym I was at. There was a lot of politics and rivalry at the time, and it was a little bit kind of, I'm getting a bit bored of this. Trained at another gym, kind of Chinese kung fu gym, and. For a little bit, and they used to have a class in Victoria in London, Queen Mother Sports Centre, and there was a kickboxing class there. I never really gave it too much thought, but I was reading more and more about it in the magazines, and I spoke to a guy, can you recommend any gyms in London? And he said, Queen Mother Sports Centre, Vince Chauncey, he's Cobra Gym, and so I thought, well, I've actually been training there, so I know how to get there, it's easy enough. I'll go and have a look, I'll go and try one class out, and just literally went in, did one class, and bang, that was it, this is what I want to do. It was just instant love affair,
Wow.
And trained there for many years. After a little while of training there, got the urge to, I had a couple of fights, I didn't have a huge amount of fights anyway, full stop, I had a couple of fights. And some friends had gone to Thailand. Oh, you've got to go to Thailand, It's amazing. Lumpini, Ratchaman, the whole thing, the gyms, the level is incredible. It's, and so that got me up. Funny enough, when I first started training at Cobra Gym, it was, there was kind of a mixture, like it was back in the day in England, I'm talking 30 odd years ago. So it was kind of people that do Muay Thai.
What was the name of the gym?
Cobra Gym.
Cobra.
It's still going now. It's some of the guys that do kickboxing and full contact, and I kind of got in there, and I was kind of like, I like this kind of full contact stuff, and I held the Superfoot, Bill Superfoot Wallace foot pads and shin pads,
right.
And I'm trying to learn axe kicks as well, and side kicks and hook kicks, and Vince, who originally started Cobra, he had a class not far from where I lived in London, on the outskirts, outside London as well, that he used to do. And he said, "Oh, come along to that one night." And so I went out there, and just by some bizarre chance, he had a video of one of his old fights in Hong Kong, because he'd trained in Thailand, fought in Hong Kong. So he was a little bit more geared towards Muay Thai. And "Oh, do you want to borrow this, Rob?" And I've taken it home, and it was I'd kind of watched Muay Thai while I was training there. But it was kind of like, I actually prefer the full contact a little bit more, maybe, because the Muay Thai standard in England back then, it wasn't the greatest, you know. But then I watched this video, and it was all like Lumpini, top draw, and I was just like, wow, Muay Thai is so much better, you know. Straight away I was watching, I was like, right, no, I'm going to go to Thailand now, and some of my mates had been, and they loved it, and so I think it was 1991. I came out with a mate for 1 month, first trip in Thailand, and it was almost like walking into Cobra Gym for the first time. You know, just this profound like effect of like, this is where I want to be, this is what I want to be doing.
What was the first gym that you came to in Thailand?
Originally we were going to go to a gym called Sortanikun, and it was a very, very famous gym. At the time it was one of the top gyms in Thailand. They had quite a few champions. If anyone's ever watched the film Kickboxer, there's a scene where that gym
is featured.
Jean-Claude Van Damme walks in, and there's a poster of Tong Po on the wall. And the little Thai guy, who I've known for years, he was at my wedding, he was like the main trainer. He was actually the trainer at the gym in real life, and he just kind of like, "Oh, do you want to star in a film for 10 minutes?
Right.
And they had the whole gym in it. And they had this picture, and he said, "Oh, can I help you?" He said, "Yes, I want to fight him." And the whole gym starts laughing at him, and he walks out kind of with his tail between his legs. But that was the gym I was originally going to go to. But the owner of the gym, he was actually assassinated a week before me and my mate were due to fly out. He was a big time, you know, Godfather, and you know, a real big character, and he was killed just before we was. So me and my mate were like, "Oh, should we maybe go to another gym?" And a friend of ours,
maybe.
He said, "Oh, try Sorvoropin." And Sorvoropin was another, at the time, it was a very big gym. It had loads of good fighters. They had Rajasak, who was like 3 or 4 times the Rachman champion, I think. And it was at Khao San Road. It was kind of behind the temple in the Khao San Road. But at Khao San Road there back then was nothing like it is now. You know, it was like there was maybe about 7 or 8 guest houses. It was just starting to become like the backpacker place. You know.
So you know that gym? I've actually been there before.
Yeah.
Sorvoropin,
yeah.
But it's changed a little bit now.
I don't even know if it's still there. The gym behind the temple. I think it might even have been. I think the temple. It was on the temple ground. I think the temple might have taken the land back.
Right.
But. They had another gym. They opened another gym outside, just across the river, not far from here.
Okay.
But anyway, so we went and trained there for a month, and you know, it was awesome. You know, they had about 20 active Thais at the time, and all like stadium level. You know, and Rajasak was still a big name then. So I just, you know, clinched in. And the very first day, you know, I still talk about it now with people, and the guy said, "Oh yeah, Rajasak, he's a champion." Do you want to go and clean? It was this guy Jitty, and he took, when they moved gyms, Jitty took over and he started Jitty Gym. And he was kind of like, at the time, he was kind of like the Thai in the gym that could speak a bit of English, and he looked after the fighters. He goes, "Oh yeah, champion Rajasak, you go and clinch with him." And I'm like, "All right," and I'm like 75 kilos, you know, 73, 75 kilos, and he was fighting around 62 maybe.
Yeah.
I thought, oh yeah, that shouldn't be too bad.
Yeah.
I think they had to, I think I lasted about 10 minutes, and they said, "Right, get him out.
Yeah.
Come out, mate, you've had enough."
You've had enough.
Yeah. And that night I went to, you know, even back then in Khao San, they had all the pirate movies on in the restaurants and the little cafes, and you go in there and have a bit of fried rice, and they've got so-and-so on, and you can watch the films at different times. And I remember sitting in there, and I needed someone to like tie my head up and tie my head to the wall, because I couldn't keep myself like that.
Your neck was jello.
Just kept looking. I thought my head was going to go home with dinner, you know.
Yeah.
So that was a very short, sharp shot.
Wow.
But again, instantly fell in love, you know. You know, I had that first time I walked in a Cobra Gym and trained, it was like, oh yeah, this is what I really want to do. I love it. And then coming to Thailand the first time in the first training session, it was almost like a repeat, you know. So oh yeah, no, I just want to be in Thailand, Muay Thai, you know.
Wow.
And that was it. That was 1991, so I'm still at it.
Right. So that was kind of like
Still got the bug.
how your journey began.
Yeah, that's kind of a
Yeah.
condensed version, like.
Right. And then from there, what motivated you to open up Kia Pontip Gym? You know, so we're going forward now in time quite
Going
a fair
for
while.
quite a few years.
Yeah, because you've been there for a lot. You've been in Thailand for a long time now, right?
I mean, originally I came to Thailand for the first time for a month. I loved it. I thought, I want to come back for a long time. So a year later I came out and I stayed for 6 months. Still, you know, oh yeah, I've got the bug. Went back to England, couldn't wait to get back, just worked hard for a year, saved up as much money, and I came back for 9 months the next time. I had a couple of fights, not many, but I had a few fights. Came back to England again. I thought, oh, I've got to settle down a bit now, you know, a bit of family pressure as well. You know, you can't just keep bumming around Thailand, you've got to look at your future a bit. So I bought a house, you know, saved up, put a deposit down. And it was back when you could do that a little bit easier than you can now, you know.
Yeah, when it's actually attainable.
Yeah. So I bought my first house and kind of had that for a bit. But all the time I kept coming back to Thailand once a year for a month or twice a year for 2 weeks at a time. Always kept in touch, and I could already speak the language then, so I was always kind of, you know, following the scene as much as I could.
How were you when you first came out?
23, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think 23.
Yeah.
But I've lost track now.
Bought the house?
Bought the house, yeah.
Came
and
back.
anyway, I kind of still had this itch, you know. I still had this itch, and then I sold that house and I bought another house, a bigger house. I could rent the rooms out in as well, which helped me to save a bit of money up. So I've got some money behind me and I've got this itch. And I'd started teaching Muay Thai in London and it was going all right. I was getting good classes, making a bit of money, but I had this itch there. I want to come back to Thailand again for a while, you know, a year, maybe 2 years. Maybe have a few more fights before I get too old, just so I've got that bit more experience, can start a gym, maybe look towards maybe having a full-time gym in London, you know, or in England. And you know, building fight. I'd had a few guys I took to fight already, and you know, I enjoyed it. But there was this itch there. I've got to go back to Thailand just for one last long trip, you know, before I really settle down. Do you know what I mean? So I saved up and came out 2001, and just one thing led to another. Really, you know what I mean? It was kind of like first it was had a few fights, and I was in my 30s then, you know. I was like, oh, I really want to do this already, but then it was kind of like, nah, I can't be asked for this anymore. You know, the whole training and just kind of, it was never. I never really had that fighter's total mindset of just, you know, you need that to really make it to the top, and to be a fighter that fights consistently, you need that mindset of just, you know, focus, tunnel vision, you know. And I never really had that, you know. And but I've always been in love with the sport as much as a fan, as much as anything else, you know. So I was still living the dream, being amongst it, watching going to Lumpini and blah blah blah. And I'd gone up to Ubon up in the northeast, and there was a guy, Nungubon Sitlachai, he was a four times Lumpini champion, and he kind of had this old Japanese guy that put some money up for him to open his own gym. He was at Port Ubon at the time, so I'm going to open my own gym. And there was me and there was this Japanese guy. Oh, we'll look after that, kind of maybe trying to get some foreigners and Japanese and foreigners to come and train. And so that kind of started off a different angle, looking after the gym. I had a friend, an old friend that kind of was involved in IT, and he had some mates in the Philippines that would do a web, so they built a website for free, and you know, started getting more people coming to train there. It was kind of like, there wasn't a massive Muay Thai training boom like there is now, but it was kind of starting off there. You had a few gyms. You had Lana up in Chiang Mai. There was a couple of gyms in Bangkok, Samui, Phuket. It wasn't really anything like it is now. There wasn't really a scene in Phuket back then, but we're kind of getting foreigners to come and train there, and I'm getting experience of looking after people in a gym and running a gym, you know.
What was the name of this gym?
Sitting in Ubon.
Okay.
And then, cut a long story short, there was some issues with the gym, and it was like the Nungubon, he kind of fell out with one of his brothers over some of the fighters, and they had a bit of an argument, and he decided, oh, I'm not going to train any foreigners anymore. So we're like, oh right, So we kind of like,
Awkward.
what are we going to do now?
Yeah.
So we've gone from there, and with his older brother, a guy called Nimna, who works with me now, I've got another Thai guy that's got a gym in, small gym in Ubon. Maybe we could do something there. So we went and started another gym there, and it was called KRS Gym. And it was kind of the initials from the Kai-sang, the Thai guy, R from my name, and S from Sasaki, the Japanese guy. So we started KRS Gym and did that for a little while. I grew out of Ubon a little bit. It's a great town. I loved it there. Some great times. I was there nearly 2 years. But I had this draw for Bangkok, and I was already started writing for some websites and magazines, and I wanted to be going to the stadiums, and be
back to the Mecca,
involved at the, at the sharp end. And I'd gone to write a story about Khao Samrit at the time. And the owner of Khao Samrit, he says like, "Come and work for me. Come and work for me. Come and help me. Come, you can look after the foreigners like you're doing up in Ubon, blah blah blah." Anawat was just about to become that fighter of the year, and just before he won the Isuzu tournament, and it was kind of like, wow, this is an opportunity.
What a time! What a time!
What do I do? What do I do? I've got this thing with my friends in Ubon, like Sasaki, that we built this thing up, but no, I can't turn this down. So I said, yeah, and I went down to Khao Samrit, and I forget how long I was there now, maybe about 5 years, maybe 6 years, and helped to really push that and get that well known around the world, and had some great times there. And it was kind of like this bizarre coincidence. The week I went to the gym, John Pop came there. He was at another gym, and he came to train at Khao Samrit. So I started kind of watching him fight and blah blah blah, and one thing led to another. Got to know his wife, and ended up getting married to his wife. And he was kind of coming to the end of his Muay Thai career at the time. John, he wasn't, he wasn't. Like finished, or he wasn't too old, but he was doing a degree at the time. So he was doing his law degree, and he's like, "Oh, I'm never going to finish that if I keep fighting." And right, I'm going to stop fighting for a bit, finish my degree, and see where we go from there. And I had a friend in England, Alan Kettle, who's got a big gym in London, very well-known gym, and I was finding Thai trainers for him at the time, and like a lot of the Khao Samrit guys, Watra Chai, Kumpinit, they were going over the work as trainers. And I said to him one day, I said, out of the blues, "Oh, can you do me a favour? I found you. Can you give my brother-in-law a little go? He's a good kid, and he's not done any training as a trainer yet, but I think he'd be all right." And he's like, "Yeah, why not? Give him a go." So John Pop went over there for 6 months, and straight away, Alan was like, "Rob, he's brilliant, mate. He's taken to it so quick. He's so good with everyone, So I was like, oh, perfect. But at the same time, my wife and him, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we should do our own gym. We should do our own gym. And I've been involved in gyms for quite a while now. I'm thinking, do I really want to do this?
Another gym?
Yeah. Do I really want to do this? And they're like, "No, come on, it'd be great. It'd be brilliant." And all right then. And it was kind of like, it was nice having the idea, your own gym,
Yeah.
But so of course we've so that's how Get on Tip came about.
Wow, what a cool story.
Yeah. And it's kind of quite funny, like not that long after we opened the gym, another mate in England, I've got a few Dean White, he's got a gym up in Leeds, he's been involved for years, and he's messaged me, "Oh Rob, I've got a couple of young lads that I want to send out to you, and I've got a girl as well, she's really lazy, like, but make sure the trainers really push her, And it was Maria. And so of course, next thing you know, John Pop's getting married to Maria.
Yeah.
I've started the gym for him, and he's sodded off back to England.
Right. Yeah.
But it is what it is, It's,
so your head trainer.
Yeah. The whole impetus to start a gym has left me.
Yeah.
But I can't blame him.
Right.
He's doing brilliant, so it's great.
Yeah. And so how have you found the gym evolution over the years since you opened it?
It's kind of, it's a hard lesson. You're always learning, and there's so many highs and there's so many lows, and the lows can be really low, when we first started, my dream's always been, because I was always kind of like involved in the main scene as a journalist. I was doing a lot of writing by then, and the boss of Khao Samrit, he was brilliant. He got me, without him, there's a good chance I wouldn't be where I am now, It's straight away, as soon as I started working for Khao Samrit, he's like, right, I'll get you into Ratchaman, I'll get you a press pass there, because you're right. I was writing for International Kickboxer, people like that. And took me there. He was a promoter at a small show outside Bangkok, where they had it on TV. It was on it was UBC at the time. It's True Visions now, but it used to be UBC, and they used to have a small show out in the Combatom, not far from here, on a Tuesday afternoon. And he was one of the promoters. There was him, Sang Tien Noi, and there was a couple of other promoters. I forget now who they were, but. So he's taken me there along one day when he had a show on, and he's working with me, blah blah blah, and he's introduced me to all the main guys there, and the Muay Thai, the magazine. He's like, take a picture of him, like, and they wrote a full-page article on me. Oh yeah, comes from England. He's blah blah blah, and have you ever done any commentary? No. Do you fancy doing it here? We need an English commentator, because it's like dual channel at the time. Right. You could change between English and Thai, you know. Yeah, how about having a go at that? And I'd never done commentary in my life, and I was like, well, I'll have a go, you know. Yeah, just talk about Muay Thai, the history, blah blah blah, and it was. I did it, but I was on my own for 2 hours.
That's tough.
At first, I thought I'd be with some Thais, you know, kind of
that's
mixing
hard.
it out. But it's like, no, you're doing it in English on your own, you know. And I'm like, and some of the fights were, you know, like young Thai kids, like 14, 15, and they just clinch for 5 rounds. I'm just like, what the hell do I say? So it was a real baptism, you know.
Yeah. But, baptism through fire.
Yeah. So that helped me really get kind of involved in the sport more, you know. And I've lost the thread again now. What we was talking about.
So like how the gym kind of like evolved. Yeah. So over the years, I mean, like, I think Kiap Pontip is one of those gyms that's, really standed the test of time.
Yeah.
Because you see a lot of gyms that are more tailored towards fighters.
Yeah.
They kind of boom and then they drop, and then some of them just shut.
I know where I was coming from now.
Yeah.
I've finally found the thread again.
That's all right.
Yeah. So kind of, because I've always been involved in the scene, and because he helped me get really in close with all the media side, the Muay Thai people and everything else. I've always been kind of right at the cutting edge, I suppose, of the main Thai Muay Thai scene. And I've always had that kind of dreams of like, Kiao Shamit won Gym of the Year, you know, son Anawat become Fighter of the Year, you know, wouldn't it be great to get the Gym of the Year award or something like that, or Fighter of the Year award, you know, produce champions, blah, blah, blah. And that was the dream originally. And, like I said, there's so many highs. When you get fighters, we had Samson that came to us. He won the Thailand title, the Ratchaman title, while he was fighting out of our gym. And we've brought some brilliant kids for over the years. But you know,
like P Teng
and Pet Lamsin originally started with us. Then Green Cry.
Right.
Loads of good fighters have come from us, you know, and from scratch as well. You know, we've got a great group of trainers and what have you. But there's so many lows as well. And it's very, very hard nowadays. I mean, it's not just me saying this, every single gym owner will tell you the same. Like with the Thai kids nowadays, it's discipline, and there's so many distractions from them, and there's big problems, social problems in Thailand with drugs and what have you. So we've seen all of that. We've been through every kind of, low that you can imagine. So it's kind of, but whereas we're at the stage now, I mean, we've not got so many Thai fighters now. We've got a couple. But the focus, the dream isn't like, we need to make the Fighter of the Year, because it's so hard, It's just like
to find someone with that discipline.
And if you have those dreams, you end up just getting kicked in the teeth all the time. So you kind of like just, we'll bring a few Thai fighters through, and we'll always have Thais in the gym, but we're maybe more focusing now more on the foreign fighters and pushing them, getting them opportunities. I mean, I can get fights from anywhere really, so there's always lots of opportunities for that, and trying to build up a good little team of foreign fighters.
And that's kind of like how the sport in Bangkok and Thailand as well has kind of shifted a little bit now too, isn't it?
A little bit. The opportunities are there now that weren't there back when I was first doing it. You didn't have shows like Max or MX or Super Champ, or you had nothing like that back then. And
you
kind
see,
of,
like,
it was an
gyms,
afterthought. But nowadays it's kind of like, you got some foreigners. We want to put them on the show.
Right.
And there's other huge promotion now. Not just in Thailand. You've got one championship, people like that now coming through. So there's lots more opportunities to kind of.
And you see more foreigners getting belts in the stadiums and stuff now too, right?
Yeah.
So you know that you could actually get a foreign champion.
Yeah, there's every chance you could. You know,
Yeah.
you get the right. I mean, it's not easy.
No.
But you get the right kid come in and who's kind of ticks all the boxes, then it's possible, you know.
Wow,
Yeah.
interesting. So, the next thing that I wanted to ask you is just kind of going back a little bit in time, and in recent times too. You've literally witnessed so many different fights over the years, and you've seen some of the legends of the sport come and go. Who are some of the most standout fighters for you when we're looking at the stadiums? Let's start with the stadiums. Like, who would you?
How long you got? So many. I mean, I was lucky, kind of coming out here in 1991 the first time, and I was lucky to kind of be at the sort of maybe the later stages of the golden era.
Yeah.
And not really sure if there is a timescale for when the golden era. Everyone talks about the golden era, but
yeah.
I came out at a very, very good time, and there was some incredible fighters. When I first came out training at Sortanikun, you had Bunlai Sortanikun, he was 2 times Lumpini champion, and you had the guys like Karahat and so many. Trying to remember them all.
Yeah.
Gensak, who was the 2 times Sports Authority Fighter of the Year. But there was so much variety as well back then, different styles, and coming over for a long period of time, through the years, 30 years of watching it, there's been a few real standouts. The golden era, there's just so many good fighters though, the levels just so good. Nung Ubon, who I was lucky to spend time with at his gym, he was some of the, this is just the names of the fighters he's fought and beat. He KO'd Samkor back when Samkor was kind of starting out, and fought everyone, and he beat Sanchai when he was 30 years old for
Samkor is the like really powerful
Batman,
kick.
big left kicker,
right?
And he didn't lose many fights. Nung Ubon actually knocked him out and stopped him, which was something very rare.
Right.
He beat Sanchai when he was 30 years old. Sanchai was like 19, 20 for the Lumpini title, so he was special, and it was also, he became a good friend as well, which was always cool. I was kind of lucky to see that era, and then when I first came out in 2001, it was still a very strong time. I was kind of, when I was having the press access, I was, right through Sanchai's prime years. When he was with one Songchai, and then he switched over to Petchindi, and I was kind of watching him when he was fighting on Songchai shows, and he was beating everyone, like give Bovey a £5 weight advantage and outclassed him, and
So he fought Bovey?
Yeah.
Wow.
And the ref stopped it like a mercy, so he didn't actually hurt him, but he just could not do it, and Sanchai gave Bowie a £5 weight advantage and absolutely played with him.
Which is quite big for stadiums, right?
Couldn't do a thing with him, and the ref just called it off in the 4th round and said, "You got no chance at all of winning,"
Yeah.
like a mercy stoppage. So I was lucky to see all that. I was Skarborski was around at that time, so there was some great fights with him. He's one of my favourite foreign fighters. I was kind of there following a lot of his fights as well. He knocked out Kaopong Lek. He got knocked out himself a few times. He had some incredible fights on huge shows, as well. I was lucky, but even before I had the press access, I managed to get in free for a friend. So there was a massive show when Anawat knocked Bovey out, and Samkor stopped Nombi with leg kicks. And it was massive. I think Sanchai fought on that, but I forget who he fought now. Atachai, you name it. I saw, I was there when all those guys were kind of coming through. And then by the time I got all the press access, I was right through when Sanchai was fighting on the Petchindi shows, the 2 versus 1, all that kind of fights. So I was, I think about 2003, I got my press pass to Lumpini. So from 2003 through to about 2017 maybe, I was kind of probably going at least 3 shows a week.
Wow.
Lumpini and Matchman for over, over 10 years, so I can't remember that.
You've probably seen over fights. Like 30,000 fights.
Yeah, probably.
That's insane.
I mean, I was there with a camera, so taking shots as well, and I'd take something like 70, 80,000 photos a year, you know.
Wow.
Just of fights.
Yeah.
But yes, I've seen so many. I mean, some of the most memorable fights, you know. I'm laid on the side of the ring, the Poncenet versus Pacon fight.
Oh, God.
And I'm laid on the ring, and you know,
I think you can actually see you in the video, right?
How lucky have I been, you know, to have been able to see all these fights, you know.
What is it that you think allows people to stay at the top of the sport, especially in Thailand, like the stadium fighters, to remain at the top for such a long time?
I think
because you see a lot of these fighters rise and then kind of drop, you know.
There's lots of different things that can lots of different variables, but obviously someone like Sanchai is just because of his skill level, you know. He's and he doesn't get hurt a lot, you know.
Yeah.
You never see him in an absolute war where he's getting punched and, you know, rocked and. Do you know what I mean? He's just got that IQ that enables him, and also he obviously looks after himself. You know, some of the Thai fighters, they don't last so long. You know, they kind of. I mean, I can understand it. You know, when you're kind of like, they start very young like they do here, and they're doing 10k runs and every day, and the killer for them is the weight, like making weight. You know, they really have to struggle with the weight making. I mean, I've seen fighters quit. You know. Some fighters have quit every time they make a weight. I'm never fighting again. As soon as they've weighed in and had a bit of food, it's all right, and on to the next one, you know. But and that takes a toll on them, and just the whole kind of discipline, being stuck in a gym and training, and it's grueling. It's very hard, and you know, some they just get to the point where they can't do it anymore. They just can't be arsed. You know, they're lazy, you know. But they've still got that ability. They can fight, but they just don't train enough.
Right.
But that catches up with them. Do you know what I mean? But the guys that can get through that and keep training and just know how to keep themselves at that level, they're going to last that bit longer, you know.
Right.
And obviously, if they don't like a beer too much or smoking,
Yeah.
a lot of them, it's like when they get to a certain age, it's like being let out of prison and they get on the drink or whatever and take it to
another level,
to a whole level that they shouldn't be, you know. But that's human nature, you know. But so the disciplined guys, the guys that know how to look after themselves, and you know, and also I think more so with the Muay female guys, like technical guys that use their brain more. They're not just purely out and out, you know, walk forward fighters or clinch a knee fighters. Or clinch a knee fighters, they have to, you know, they tend to generally put that much more work in the gym to be able to keep that pressure, and they're super fit. They train really hard, whereas the technical guys, they don't quite need to train that hard, you know. They can get by on their technique and skill,
and you think that kind of preserves them a little bit better?
Without doubt, you know.
Right.
You know, they're not burning themselves out as much, you know. Not just physically, mentally as well.
Yeah, because the clinch style fighters, you'll see them getting like punched in the face a lot to kind of like get them.
You notice a lot with some of the, you know, there's been some real absolute clinch and knee monsters over the years that just, you get in there with them and they're just on you and they're pressure. But they're like you say, they've got to be prepared to invest, go forward. They've got to be prepared to do that. And I've seen it quite a few times where these guys have been absolute monsters, and all of a sudden they get knocked out first round. Any light punch, bang, out. And the punch resistance goes because they've just taken that many, and you know.
Wow. Yeah. Very interesting. You know, I heard that they say that in Thailand, like once someone's chin goes, then like that's it, it's gone. They kind of have this like folk tale, or you know, but they kind of talk about that. But
they'll still, you know, they'll still keep on fighting, and they'll still keep on kind of sometimes matching them with punches, and you know, just I'll see how this goes, and it makes an edge to the fight, you know.
Right, it makes it a little bit more exciting because you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's right. But I've seen so many like that, and they're so tough, and you think, oh God, this guy's an absolute monster, he's a machine, and all of a sudden, bang, they get knocked out every fight, you know.
Wow, that's amazing. And that's kind of like, you look at MMA these days now, they have a lot of stuff about brain health and like trauma to the brain and all that sort of thing, you know. They're very like mindful of it. You see some fighters getting knocked out, you know, 3 fights in a row. They're kind of like, okay, you should probably retire now, you know. It's going to be hard for you to come back from that.
Not quite got to that stage here in Thailand.
Interesting, eh? How have you kind of seen the sport evolve over the years? I mean, if we're looking at Muay Thai from when you first came, and then you know, there's been a lot of changes, hasn't there? You know, like what do you think now?
In some ways, you could probably say it's devolved in skill level.
Right.
You know? It's kind of like, I mean, obviously, it's a lot of people talk about it already. The whole kind of influence that gambling's got on the sport now.
Yeah.
That has really affected it. You know, the way the fighters fight, and whereas back in the day, the fights tended to be a lot more well-rounded. You know, they could the clinchers could box a bit as well, and you know. Whereas nowadays, in some fighters, you know, that's just all they want to do. They just go in and clinch. You know, and it's fights round 1 and 2, nothing happens. It's kind of like there's no real score in that round. Oh, don't go anything. Don't start too strongly, because they'll see the fight as like a marathon. So who finishes the stronger is generally going to have the advantage. Right. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like they're almost told, don't go out hard. Well, they are told, don't go out hard in the first 2 rounds. You know, take it easy. Don't really get going until round 4. You know, and whereas in the old days, round 1 they'd fight. You know.
I always remember you telling me that Anawat would just start straight from the first round.
Well, a puncher normally would anyway, you know,
right.
Because the longer the fight goes on, the less chance he's going to have of getting a knockout, you know. Okay. Especially if you're fighting a strong clincher, you know, that clinching and grinding, and shoulders, and, you know, your power.
Right, I see.
Can fade, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I see. So, you know, and this is something that's come up a few times, how you said like the sport has devolved because of the pressure from the gamblers and stuff.
Yeah, the pressure and the whole way they see the fights now, and you know, the skill level, the skill level's gone a bit. You know, certain techniques they're frowned upon. You know, that's why the stadiums are kind of pushing the whole kind of like, oh yeah, if you win by a jumping knee, you get 20,000 baht tip, or spinning back elbow, 20,000 baht tip. They want to try and preserve it. You know.
So they're
whereas
bringing
if you
that
had it
stuff
to the
back
gamblers,
now?
they'd be like, no.
So the stadiums are pushing that, but the gamblers are like, no.
Yeah, they're not so keen on it. You know, they want to see a kind of clinch and grind. You know.
Why do you think that is, Rob?
I haven't got a clue, mate. To be honest with you,
right?
This baffles me. You know, because I'd much rather watch a. You know, well, I like watching a really good clinch and knee fight. Don't get me wrong. You know, I like watching 2 skilled guys in the clinch. I like also that's what kind of attracted me to Muay Thai. There's so much variety with it. It's not just like kind of like 1-2 low kick left, 1-2 hook low kick, 1-2 hook low kick, rinse and repeat. There's so many different variables and styles. You've got a guy that's really good boxing, another guy that's good in the clinch but deadly elbows, another guy that's kind of like technical but strong in the clinch. You know, there's so many different styles and combinations of fighters. You know. So I'm not really sure what the fascination is with, he's got to be really strong, and if he can throw his opponent down a couple of times in the 4th round, he's going to win. You know, I don't get it myself, but that's kind of the way it's gone, unfortunately.
Like it's what we were talking about before with jiu-jitsu, you know, like to someone that's uneducated in the sport, they wouldn't have much appreciation for the clinching or the grappling and stuff. But then once you get into it and you understand it as part of a whole picture, you kind of have more appreciation for it, right?
A very good clincher, different styles of clinch. You know, you've got your tall guys, the way they approach a fight in a clinch, and you've got the shorter guys that, you know, you don't have to be really tall to be good in a clinch. You've got some short, stocky guys that get in with that low lock and get their head in the chest, and you know, how does a tall guy deal with that? Do you know what I mean? There's so much to it. You know? It's almost an art in itself, but
you want to see that with everything else.
Not just kind of like, you know, wait till the 4th round
and then clinch it out.
Look strong in the clinch, and then throw your opponent down 2 or 3 times, and then it's kind of like the odds are so hard for the other guy to come back. And even though he's been landing with great technique before that, you know, it's kind of. It doesn't make sense to me, to be honest with you. I don't think it makes sense to a lot of people, though.
Well, you see a lot of people like, what? He won? Like, you know?
Well, you see that with everybody now. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like, it's not just a kind of like someone that doesn't understand the sport or the scoring. It's kind of like, it's almost like it with everybody. Gym owners, people that have been involved in the sport for 30 years.
Wow.
Journalists, you know. I remember commentating, I was commentating on a show at Lumpini. And you know, we used to regularly, like, one of the other commentators, they'd have to be checking the odds all the time. They'd be, no, Blue's head, huh? And they'd have to kind of change the commentary a bit, otherwise they'd end up like, oh yeah, Red's winning this by a mile, he's easy, he's coasting it. And then all of a sudden the blue corner's won, and they'd be like, oh. So they'd be like, one of them would be checking like what the odds were, just so they could. And then they kind of changed the commentary a little bit, like, oh yeah, you can see there, Blue. He's looking very. Look at that position in the clinch. He's looking very strong now. Yeah. And they'd adapt it to the odds, you know.
Yeah. Gosh,
so it's
crazy,
kind of
isn't
like, to
it?
be a journalist, the Thai journalists, they're not just, you know, they know the gambling and the odds and everything else, you know.
What about with promotions like Max and MX and One and all these different shows? I mean, how do you think that affects the art of Muay Thai?
I think it's helping in to bring Thais that probably used to like Muay Thai but have fallen out of love with it due to this whole gambling thing. It's helping to bring a lot of them back and make people interested in Muay Thai a bit more again. You know, kind of Thai fight to a certain degree started that off. They were putting on big shows and, you know, and all of a sudden they were putting on shows and there was like TV stars and celebrities there and, you know, people started, then you had this kind of whole Muay Thai fitness boom that you're seeing in Thailand now where regular Thai students, women, I want to work out, I want to lose weight, but I don't really want to go in that Muay Thai gym that's full of Lumpini champions swearing and spitting on the floor.
Trying to clinch with me.
Yeah, and the owner's a gambler and probably a gangster, and do you know what I mean? And, no, I don't want to go in there. But,
but now they've got like a more safe environment.
Now they've got this environment where it's a beautiful, clean, air-conditioned gym, and you know, they're training alongside other girls and students and people of their own kind of, you know, from their world, you know, and it's kind of moving Muay Thai off in a different direction, you know, which is you know, it's keeping it alive as well. So and the scoring systems in those different particular promotions are a bit different too. Like you see that they kind of don't put so much emphasis on the clinch, right? Yeah, well they want it to be more entertaining, I think, and you know, as much as us purists, I mean, even myself, and I can watch two guys fight in a clinch for 3 rounds and enjoy it, you know, and just, that was there was you know, a real battle of wits in the clinch and great technique, you know. I can watch that all day long, but for you, probably your average guy on the street, they just want to see people kicking and punching, elbows, maybe some knees from the out. They've not got to understand quite so much, so it's easier for them, I think, to get into it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
But so I think it's I mean, Max, obviously I work for Max, so I can know their philosophy a little bit more, and they're all about entertainment, you know. They've got people in the stadium, there's all the promoters, even the owner sometimes, you know, they're around at the corner saying, hey, you've got to go forward, you've got to work, do something, throw something, don't just stand there. Like if you're seeing the main stadiums now, Lumpini, right, a guy's like a mile ahead, he'll just sit back and he won't do anything and he'll dance and dance a bit, and the opponent, if he's already knows he's lost, he'll just like, and he'll just walk about, head down, despondent. You have a whole round of that sometimes, 3 minutes of just nothing, just walking around looking at each other. You do that at Max, you know, you won't go back, you won't get fighting again, do you know what I mean? And there's that bonus incentive there, 5,000 baht bonus, 10,000 baht super bonus, 20,000 baht double super bonus, you know. If you do that in the last round, there's no way you're getting a bonus, you know. So there's a cash incentive, there's a motivation. They're drilling into you from day one. I mean, you fought there yourself, so you know, you go, if you're fighting on a Sunday, you get there Saturday, you weigh in, and then you have a 30-40 minute rules meeting where they're telling you, you know, this is Max Muay Thai, you've got to put on a show, you're expected to fight and go forward. If you go back, you're going to get warned. If you get 3 warnings, you lose a point, you know. So that's why it's become so popular, I think, you know, because people are enjoying watching that kind of action. Do you know what I mean?
For sure. Yeah, awesome, man. So the next question I wanted to ask you was, you know, you've been ringside at like so many different fights, and you know, there's a lot more people coming into the sport now, into Muay Thai, and getting interested in it, and like starting to like, you know, what is this, you know? But you know, a lot of people could view it as quite brutal. You know, how would you kind of describe it to someone that doesn't know much about it, you know?
I mean, it can be brutal, but it can also be very, very graceful and stylish. I don't know, not stylish, but very graceful, and you know, there's a beauty about it as well. The movement, the style, the technique. Do you know what I mean? and there's so many again, there's so many different variables. You know, you've got the brutal guy that just wants to come and destroy you, but then you've got this kind of like someone like Sancho who's got that IQ and that style and grace and speed and ability just to make that, just take that brutal guy and just make him look
like a chump.
Not a chump, but just you know, just make him look not impotent. Maybe that's probably not the wrong word, but just you know, just take away that whole brute force. You know, do you know what I mean? That's kind of a. But then you've got other guys that go in and they can just destroy someone that you would think would be able to, you know, nullify them. I mean, just like that. There's that element of drama. I don't know. It's just got everything for me. You know.
Right. So kind of like that unpredictability.
Yeah, unpredictability, style, grace, violence, danger, you name it.
There's so many different components, right? Cool.
And you know, there's I've been involved over 30 years now, and I still get surprised, you know. I mean, working at Max Muay Thai, some of the surprises there, you know, I never thought I'd see a ref get knocked out in the same time as the opponent, you know, and the double knockdown.
Yeah. You know. Gosh. Yeah. Some of that stuff's just crazy.
It's and you know, I'm very, 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 very lucky and privileged really to be able to sit there and be involved in it as well.
And get paid for it,
getting paid for it as well. You know, I never ever forget that. You know.
So for you, it's kind of like this huge combination of things combined with the excitement and the unpredictability.
Yeah, the excitement, you know. It's, you know, when you walk out of a stadium and you witness something special, you know, and you're just buzzing, you know, that feeling has never left me, you know. I've never, you know, walked out sometime and think, oh yeah, that was a pretty crap show, you know what I mean? Just boring fights and blah, blah, blah. But that's not normally the norm, you know. And it's still now, you know, going back to that Poncenet Pacon fight.
Right,
you know, I mean, how long ago was that? That was probably about 8 or 9 years ago. But I mean, I've been involved in the sport a long time then, and the hairs were all up on the back of my neck, you know, and just like wow, you know. And I still get that. I'd still get it if I went there. If I went to Lumpini tomorrow night and saw that again, it'd still be the same. I know I would, you know. I used to get the buzz walking to the stadium and just hearing get there a little bit later. I don't want to watch the first couple of fights.
So wait, pause 1 second. For anyone who hasn't seen this fight, can you just tell them a little bit about this fight? I know exactly what you're talking about. It's quite famous, that round 4, right?
Round 4. I mean, it was a great fight. The first 3 rounds were great, but then round 4, it was just, I don't know what sparked it off, but it was just like. It was just going toe to toe with right hands. It was just straight rights. I think I counted them at one point. I can't remember how many it was, but it was a lot. It was something like 20 consecutive right hands, and they're both throwing it at the same time. You know? And it was just one of those rounds that you'll never ever forget. You know? And for all the time I've been coming to Thailand, and all the time I've been going to the stadium, Joe, you always kind of get this thing with the crowd and the gamblers. It's like they're there to gamble. And you know, at the end of the round, they're still betting. But when you get a special round like that, and I've seen it for years, everyone stops and gives a round of applause, and the whole stadium was up clapping. Do you know what I mean?
Like a standing ovation.
Yeah. Well, it was, you know, it was just something special. You know? Wow. And if I saw that tomorrow, I'd still be the same. I'd be just like, wow, I'm lucky, I'm privileged. You know what I mean?
When you get those moments.
Yeah. And I even now, if I go to Ratchaman, I get there late, like I say, 3 fights in, and I'm walking around and I can hear the, oi. I'll still get a buzz, you know. I can still, the excitement starting
pumped
now.
Up for it.
Yeah.
Wow, awesome. The next question that I wanted to ask you, getting towards the end now, when people are looking to come out to Thailand and they're looking to train Muay Thai, do you have any tips that you want to give them? You know,
Don't do it. No, I'm joking. I mean, it depends on what you're coming for. I mean, Thailand can be.
I think a lot of people, let's say they're coming out here for Muay Thai. You know?
Yeah, they're coming out here for Muay Thai. You just come prepared to have a good time, enjoy yourself, and be prepared to work hard. You know, I mean, if you come out here dreaming that you're going to be the next, I don't know. Rafi Singh Batom or Damon Alamos or Skalborski or next big foreign superstar, and you're going to make loads of money, then you know you might think again a little bit, because it is a very, very, very tough life.
Yeah.
To be a fighter in Thailand, to come out, and a lot of people dream of doing, I'm going to become a fighter in Thailand. The reality is quite often very different to what the dream is. Do you know what I mean? And you've got to be so focused and determined, and because it's tough. It's super, super tough. I mean, it's grueling. You know, day in, day out. Running in the morning, long run in the morning. The Thais, you know, that's one of the things you've got to be prepared to run. You know, 10k maybe in the morning, and some of the gyms even in the afternoon they do a long run. Clinching, it can be grueling and grinding. You know, once you've trained, you know, 6 days a week, you don't really have enough energy to do much else. You know, and you've got to be very, very single-minded. Very, very focused. You can't cut corners. If you do, you're not going to make it. You know, you have to listen to your trainers. A lot of people think they know more than the trainers, and there's no way that's ever the case. I've never seen it where the guy that's like 3 fights back in England actually knows what he's talking about over the Thai trainer. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But some, they just don't listen. You know, you've got to listen to your trainers. And like I say, be prepared to work very, very, very hard. It's a tough life. It's not for everyone. You know, it's not for many. Very few, I think, that can really hack it. You think you can before you come, but the reality of it's a lot different. You know.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if you're coming out to learn, you want to experience Muay Thai, you want to experience Thai culture, then get out here, because it's great. You know, it's a brilliant experience.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah. Well said, man. Yeah, so basically be realistic.
Be very realistic, because
give it a try first before you start making your goals.
Yeah. And also set small goals.
Right, yeah.
Step at a time.
Step at a time.
Because fighting at Lumpini for the title is that is a very, very, very challenging goal. Yeah. Very challenging. You know, there's very, very few that could. I think they've got the mindset to be able to do that, you know.
What about somewhere like Rajadamnern, like as opposed to Lumpini? Like which would you say would be like a harder title?
Oh, I'd say they're probably about the same, really, to be honest with you. You know, it all depends on who the promoter is. You know, it all depends on luck. There's so many different things that come into it, you know. Right. Depends on what gym you're at. Have they got connections that can, you know, take you that level higher, you know. Are you any good? You know, that's another thing. A lot of people have very high expectations of their own abilities, and their abilities often don't match it.
They get humbled quite quickly.
Yeah, there's nothing more humbling than getting in the ring with a Thai that's kind of like been clinching all his life and
just throws you around.
That's going back to what I said earlier. My first ever time in Thailand, and I got with Rajasak, and you know, his nickname was the knee fighter that hunts souls.
Wow!
And I think he took my soul in about 10 minutes. You know what I mean? And I was like over 10 kilos heavier than him.
Right.
And just
amazing.
But at the same time, that made me like almost like fall in love with it. You know, that humbling kind of like, wow, these guys are at such a level. Yeah. You know, I just wanted to train more and, you know, experience it more. Do you know what I mean?
Try to kind of like somewhat climb your way up to where they are.
Yeah. You know, I never made it. I never got close to making it, but you know,
it's the journey, right?
It was the journey. The journey was brilliant.
Yeah. And now here you are.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
The last thing I want to say is, you know, is there any like, you know, thank yous or any shout outs or anything like that, or any people you'd like to?
I mean, there's a few people I owe a lot to.
Okay.
But none of them will actually listen to this or understand it. But you know, I mean, obviously, first one that springs to mind is Simon Sington, or he's Anand Jantip, his name. He's the owner of Kaohsiung Ret, and he kind of believed in me. He brought me down to help with the gym, and you know, he opened so many doors for me, like getting press at Ratchaman, starting out as a commentator, and you know, without him, a lot of this wouldn't have probably fallen into place. It might have done, but it wouldn't have done anywhere near as quickly as it did, you know. Through him, I met a guy, Mitna Kon, who's another one that I owe a lot to. He owned Muay Thai 2000 website, and he's a Ratchman Stadium promoter as well. He's part of Petchindy Promotions, but he's got his own show at Ratchman, one Mick Chai, and you know, not long after I first started the commentary out in Nakhon Pathom, he had these DVDs he was selling on the Muay Thai 2000 site. And he's like, oh, can you come and do an English voiceover on them for me? And did a couple of those, and he, oh, do you mind doing some writing for Muay Thai 2000? And straight away, boom, that was another door open, you know. And then a few years after that, they were looking for someone to commentate in English at Lumpini, the old Lumpini, and he called me up, oh, Rob, blah, blah, blah. And even now he calls me for stuff, you know, and helps out, open a few doors, and you know, so he's another one that I owe a hell of a lot to. Obviously, the owner of Max Muay Thai gave me the opportunity, and he's always really pushed me and kind of like, right, Rob, you're in charge of the English commentary team, you're blah, blah, blah. What you say goes, blah, blah, blah. I trust you, and you know, he's taken me around the world as well. So he's another one I owe a lot to. Just started doing a bit of work with One Championship as well as a judge, and all the people at One have been brilliant. You know, they've given me another, as a fan, first and foremost, I'll do this because I'm a fan, you know, I'm a massive fan. I want to, that's another massive opportunity to be a part of a huge show, and you know, all the people there are brilliant, look after you, made me feel part of the family straight away. So you know, I've got to thank them as well. That's about it, I think. Cool. Yeah. Awesome. And obviously, if you're thinking of coming to train in Thailand, give one tip a look.
I was just about to say, if any of you guys are aspiring or up-and-coming fighters and you want to get that real, traditional Thai experience of training in Thailand with really high-level trainers in an environment where there isn't really too many distractions, you know, I think 100% you've got to try out Gyapon Tip.
Yeah.
So, yeah, awesome. Hey, thanks so much for coming on the show,
Thanks
Rob.
for having me, mate.
Awesome,
it's been brilliant.
man.
It's always good to see you, Steve. So,
yeah.
And like I said before, what you're doing here is great as well. You know, you're helping to put back and spread the word as well, which is all good.
Yeah, well, I got a lot from you guys, so it's nice to give back to you guys.
Nice one.
Cheers, man. Hey guys, Steve here. If you like the content, please don't forget to press like and subscribe to stay up to date with the most recent episodes. I'll see you guys on the next one.